Hello, I am Andrew Sueta, and I wish to talk to you about George Seurat. George Seurat was a French artist from the late 19th century, and I'm here to tell you about how he caused and improved the post-impressionist era, along with some very familiar artistic faces from the late 19th century. Next slide. George's background was similar to most back then. He was born December 2nd, 1859, and sadly passed away on March 29th, 1891, at the age of 31. He was raised in Paris primarily with his mother and his older brother and sister. George had only begun to draw around 1875 and decided to improve his skills by entering the École des Beaux Arts studio. He was taken under the wing of Henry Littmann in the late 1887s, and after he had met him, he went under to draw nearly 40 paintings and over 500 drawings and sketches in his lifetime. Next slide. How important was his artwork during the time? His main way of showing his art was via pointillism, a technique invented by George Seurat himself, and is made in all four out of his pieces. His most popular piece using pointillism is his masterpiece A Sunday on that Grande Genet, made back in 1884 and completed on 1886. Pointillism is used to create large pieces of work using many small dots of color to be side by side, and all art pieces went together, making up a hard to understand or see in individual dots that make up the entire piece. As we can see here, at first it seems kind of fuzzy, but it is just a bunch of small dots of paint making up one giant image. Next slide. The post-impressionism era was made during the later part of the 19th century, with the founding fathers of the post-impressionism era mainly being George Seurat. George Seurat was also one of the great impressionist minds, and beside Vincent van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, and Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. Next slide. However, each of these great artists had their own art styles, and most of them had their own ways that they would draw out their designs. For Seurat, his style was pointillism, as we saw before. For Vincent van Gogh, his art style was the impasto technique. For Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, it was his carré technique. And for Paul Cézanne, it was how he organized the stages and layers in his pieces. Each of them had developed this style over time, and this was how they were able to make all of their art pieces throughout their years of painting. Next slide. What did the post-impressionism era cause? After the era of post-impressionism and its leaders had sadly passed away, a new age of artwork had come to the scene, a more vibrant, creative, and very much abstract world. Once these times of the art world broke the mold, more artists began to change and express their talent in so many other ways. Abstract art had become more common, new artists challenged the norms of normal artwork, becoming more vibrant and colorful, to the moody and dark lighting of the past pieces. Without the post-impressionism movement and its creators, the art world may have a far darker tone and not nearly as inviting and beautiful as it is today. Next slide. What can we conclude from this? When it comes to the short but memorable life of George Seurat, we can see that his short time here on Earth has made a big impact in the artistic world. However, we can infer that without him interfering in the artistic world, so much would have been stagnated. We can also infer that a lot of understanding when it comes to even one person can impact such a large world. While he was not alone, as the likes of Vincent van Gogh or the others, and their many different art styles that they had made themselves, it was a way to express one another and challenge the norms. Considering art back then was more for the church and for other rich families, they brought it to the modern day, with some of them even using those in poor environments to create their art pieces. We also need to make sure that without George, we would have had so many other inspiring pieces due to his influence. As like mentioned before, all these great artists were not inspired by older artists of the past, but have also inspired many artists of today. Thank you.